getting on this meeting. Louisa, would you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Al,
Present.
Michelle,
Present.
I hear.
Terry,
Present.
Dr. Cronin. Okay, Lauren,
Here.
I'm here. Gladys,
Here.
Kate,
Here.
Here.
Juanita,
Here.
Rich,
Here.
and Julie. Okay, all set,
Okay,
She's
Gladys.
here.
Okay. Thank
She
you,
is here?
I'm
Louisa.
here.
Okay.
Okay. Superintendent, would you like to go over this MOI, Memorandum of Understanding, before we get into the action item?
Yes, absolutely. First, I just want to
Okay.
say, I want to say thank you again to everybody for taking time out of their busy day. We'll try to make this as quick as possible. We got a call from the city that they had a little bit of additional ARPA money that they were trying to kind of redistribute, and they thought it would be, we would obviously benefit by that. We talked about the uses, and so we are obviously going to have a lot of expenses as we open up the academy. We have some money set aside, but there are a lot of unexpected expenses, such as filling up the media center with thousands of books and equipment that we're going to need that's not covered by the FF&E package. And so we don't need to be as super granular with which books we're buying or which microscopes we're choosing at this very moment, but that this gives us some time to spend it. But the intended use is to support the instructional supplies and equipment needed to support the opening of a new academy and the shift. So it's sort of a generic cover at the moment. And then as we go to use this, we'll get more granular and can certainly report out on how that's spent. We're getting a lot of these types of, right now, December 31st is a huge trigger date for the end of ARPA money. So the state, I just have two small requests in the last couple of weeks for small amounts that came through the e-grant system for us to apply for. Hurry up and apply. You've got 2 minutes to apply. The deadline is tomorrow. It has to be encumbered by the 31st. So we're starting to see a few of these come in, but this is a very nice chunk of change. We're very appreciative of the city that they thought of us, and we will happily accept this money if the board chooses to do so.
Okay. Any questions before we move into the discussion? Yes, Teresa.
The other people receiving ARPA funds, are they subject to the same reporting that we are?
Yeah, so the ARPA funds are, they have a few more strings attached to them than other things. So there's, there are very strict guidelines on what you can spend it on. The bidding process and the procurement process is a little tighter. Needs to be, scrutinized. You have to get reimbursed. So you have to put money out and then get reimbursed. So, this is, we're kind of familiar with these protocols. So it's all good on our end. We just, we'll work with the city for that to access these funds once it's approved.
I hear someone talking in the background. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off, Teresa.
Oh, no, that's fine.
couldn't-
I was finished.
I just, okay, never mind. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I just have one question. Is the money only for the Career Academy?
No,
You can
so-
use it for the Career Academy?
No, so we had to designate how would we use the money to make sure that it's a qualified expense under the ARPA rules. And so, like I said, given the fact that we're going to be, needing every penny to open up that academy, we thought for sure this could help us with that effort. So there's still a lot of unknowns. Once you open up a new building, there's a lot of things that come to light that, were not included. And we will need more instructional supplies over there, especially with the startup. So the money will be for instructional supplies for our kids, regardless. It'll just help on the academy side, but it benefits the school district as a whole.
We have Juanita and then Michelle. Juanita? She's muted. I don't know.
We can always go back to her.
Okay. Michelle?
For, just to get an idea, if it's 200,000 towards these expenses, what is the overall budget currently on the job, on the project itself allocated for such funds? Is this a drop in the bucket? Is this, like, does this 200,000 represent in the overall,
Mhm.
budget
Mhm.
regarding, this kind of allocation for resources?
Yeah, so we'll definitely, there are all kinds of things that we'll have to purchase and that we plan on purchasing. And some of that money we did set aside, if you remember, but we couldn't spend it because we didn't open up when we were supposed to. So we do have some of that in the reserve, but we need, there are certain things, Michelle, that, so like if you have class sets in the classrooms and bookcases of libraries and reference material in classrooms, the kids that are still, the students that are still at Danbury High School will need to access that. So we won't lift that and bring that over to the Danbury West campus. We'll need to have more, another set there. Same thing with things that aren't necessarily covered in the FF&E package, which is the equipment package. So some things get covered, some things don't. And so is $200,000, is usually a drop in the bucket for 1,400 students to outfit from scratch. Yes. However, it complements some of the other money that we have set aside and the money that we'll need moving forward. So it's definitely a nice, like I said, nice chunk of change to help us with that effort.
Can you please remind me or the group how much money has been set aside? And what am I looking for is, because this is what I used to do, what does the budget currently look like to outfit the furnishings and materials necessary
Right. So that's all in
for
the
the
project
school? Like, that
itself.
should be some sort of a milestone, a budget that's been allocated. What does that look like? Like,
Yeah.
for you to have presented and get these funds, I understand that the museum isn't going to be funded at this point. They're not being funded if the money is being allocated. What is that noise?
Sorry, somebody has their either
Juanita's got her computer
Oh,
on and it's echoing with the phone.
so I know that there's other projects. These funds came to us and we're fortunate. Other programs have actually lost funding. So we must have put forward something. And I'm wondering, what is the number that we are looking to outfit and furnish this school? There has to be a number. What
Mhm.
do we currently have that you said we set aside? I don't recall the number at this moment. And there's 200,000 you're looking to allocate and put aside to that. If not, possibly use in another way that eventually helps. I'm just looking for some clarity on the numbers. Thank you.
Sure. So the furniture numbers, the equipment that was covered is all available as part of the project. We could certainly get what that is. That's on the project stuff is on the city side with the packages that have been submitted. And those things have been a little bit on the move as the project is coming along, right? And so certainly we can get that list, but that's covered in the bond. And so what we'll be working with to find out is, what other materials that we'll need outside of what we think. We set aside 1.4 last year, if you remember, Michelle, and that's what went into the reserves because we couldn't spend it. And that is what we think now will get us up and running. But there's, every week that we meet, there's, equipment that we're identifying that we may need, that may not be ready to come over yet, come over from Danbury High School that we're not splitting, if you will. So, we set aside about 1.4, but, every day those numbers become, thank you, Anita, every day those numbers become, a little bit more fluid in the sense that, like, we're going to bring over some laptop carts. Those are not going to be covered in the bond, in the package. We have to bring, copiers need to be outfitted over that building. Some of our copiers here are obsolete, but some of them work. We'll be bringing those over from Beaverbrook. So we're just identified this to help us with the overall expenses that will incur as we're moving, as we're transferring, our equipment over, and we're seeing kind of how we're able to outfit the new school. So some of it, it's a little bit fluid right now. So this is, it's as, like I said, we're happy to be.
Right. No, I
Mm.
understand. And I'm not trying to give a hard time. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to say, like, okay, so obviously for our next budget, we will also be allocating funds specifically to cover
The
that as
academy,
well.
absolutely, to keep.
You know what I
will
mean?
be
Like,
a cost driver for
right.
sure. Yeah.
Right. I'm just trying to make it so that, when we're there, we've figured it out and we've allocated the funds for it and that we're not really, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
That's
this,
all.
again, this 200,000 is very high level at this point, on purpose, as we progress through the year.
No, I understand. Yeah, I understand construction and moving in and things you didn't think about. So that's why I'm wondering how much have we allocated? What in reality is the budget? I know that there's been other schools that have opened in such a manner. What is the typical 10% of the overall budget? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Usually is an outliner.
Right.
That's all. So just want to make sure in line and
Thank-
realistic. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Any oth-
Is it okay if I read Juanita's question? Did
Yes.
everyone see Juanita's question? Okay, so Juanita said, are we looking into funding for preparing BBAC for the use for Reach and Endeavor, keeping this important issue? This is also very important to us as well, Juanita. We did get some preliminary, some estimates here. They are a lot of money. Our preliminary estimate that just came in, and we're kind of questioning it, is there's about $13 million to redo this building to make it habitable for students. So we just we got that information back from Fryer, and we just started to discuss it, but that's for another day really, but it's a lot of money so we have to try to, figure out how to approach that in light of the budget season that we're anticipating and opening the academy. So we're still figuring that piece out. We're going to have to sit down together. It might be a good discussion to have for sites coming up, that we anticipated that being an agenda item coming up maybe on the next sites to discuss. But yeah, we had some sticker shock when that number came back. And thank you I saw that you vote in favor. So I will,
Okay.
if other people do not see what Juanita put in, she said she voted in favor of the motion.
Yes, I saw it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do, Gladys, Richard.
Yeah.
Carol, as I read the MOU, if I'm reading it correctly, it says the expenses have to be encumbered by the end of this year and then paid for by the end of 26.
Mhm.
To me, as I read that, that means you have to have, at this particular point, you would have to have obligations already committed by the end of the year for these particular projects. Is that correct?
Yes, which is why I had to determine how we would use it. We had to come up with the phraseology of how we were using it so that we can put that in, make sure that it was allowable expense, a thumbs up on that. And then the city, on the city side, they encumber it. The city encumbers it because the city holds it. They'll encumber it by December 31st. We have some of our grants here that we have to encumber by December 31st.
Okay.
Small grants that the state provides, but and then we have to spend it according to that umbrella.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
Okay. Before we move on, are there any other questions?
One more.
Yes, Teresa.
It looks like we have to pay the bills first and then get reimbursed by the city.
Yes.
If they approve the bills that come in. I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of tricky considering the history of city finances.
I have full faith that the city has been granted these allocations. So this is money set aside. It's special money for these purposes, along with other ARPA projects that have been designated. So I have full faith that we won't have any issues with this. If the number was millions and millions, those probably make me sweat a little bit more. But I think we're good on this number here.
If they granted the encumbrance, it should be just a flow through that the invoice follows. It should be no
Yeah, it should be
question.
pretty quick.
Okay. Are all hearts are clear? All minds are asked all the question that you want to ask? Okay, so when we get to the questions in the motion, we should not have any. Okay. Al, would you
Yes.
read the entire motion?
Yes. Memorandum of Understanding, allocation of American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, parentheses, ARPA funding. Motion that the Board of Education approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Danbury and the Board of Education for $200,000 allocation of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funding in accordance with 24-204.
Al made the motion. Could I hear a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Who
This
is
is
that?
Kate.
Kate?
Kate?
Okay. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Could I hear aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? I so have it.
I make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Make the motion made by Al, seconded by
Lauren.
Therese. Okay.